If you're playing, you notice that you're having a slice like this, or even if you're doing traditional grip and you kind of have this outward angle rather than going straight up and down, one way that you can fix that is putting your stick on the outside of your stick and just hold this straight up, and then when you practice, you'll have a straight up and down motion when you're working on this. If you notice that you have like an inward slice or angle when you're doing this, just put your stick on the inside of it and go straight up and down. Just make sure that when you're doing this that you have it vertical. You don't want to practice it without a slight angle, and then you're going to reinforce having a slicing motion. An inverted diddle sounds just like a normal diddle. So we have normal diddle and then inverted. So what exactly is going on? So a normal diddle, you'd go right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left. But an inverted diddle is the same rhythm, but you go right, left, left, right, left, left. So instead of two rights, you're actually doing two lefts. This helps you to focus on the second note of a diddle. So when you're playing this, there's a tendency for people to play the second note so that it sounds kind of crushed like that. So the second note's low instead of getting that second note up there, or not in time, so it's coming in a little bit early. If you invert the diddle, it makes it so that you focus on that second note and emphasize it more, because now it's lining up on the 16th note rather than on the 32nd note, on the offbeat, basically. This variation of chug, flam accents and split rolls, it looks interesting, but if you go into the timestamps, you can jump to whatever BPM you want. So let's say 107. It's got two different lines, so you'd play just the top line or just the bottom. And it sounds like chug with rolls normally because you're splitting it. But you choose which hand you're going to play. So like I'm going to play the top line. Oh no, I switched. I played the bottom line on the second half. It's a fun little thing that you can try with like other members of your drumline, or you can just use this play along here, which linked at the top of the screen. When I first started like working with drumlines, I said too much and I moved through things too fast. I would say, hey, there's this that was an issue, there's this, work on this, work on that, and I'd identify like every little thing that was wrong with it. And then we'd play through it, and like maybe if it got better after like 1 or 2 reps, then cool, we'll move on to the next thing, etc. What I have learned since then is that if you instead focus on one thing and then go through that rep and keep doing it a few times and check for consistency for it being fixed, cool. Then we can focus on the next thing. So what I recommend doing is prioritizing what is the biggest rock that is going to give you like the biggest bang for your buck. Whichever one is the most important thing that is going to like clean up the most amount of dirt, focus on that first. And then once it has demonstrated that you've consistently improved that, cool, focus on another thing. Your instructor is going to tell you something different from what I am going to tell you. And that's normal. I've had a lot of different instructors from many different schools of thought, different philosophies, and I've taken pieces that I like from different people and then apply it into my own technique and my own way of playing and whatnot. And after seeing like so many different students over many, many years, and like having taught literally thousands of students across every grade, kindergarten through doctoral student, like I've seen a range of ability levels when it comes to musicianship. And so I've kind of like taken my own different approaches to drumming that might differ from your instructors, and that's okay. It's completely understandable. Practicing is one of those things that like it just pays off in so many different ways. So like learning how to play an instrument, like figuring out the grind for like how to refine little things helped me to figure out how to refine how I learn other things. Like the last several years I've been teaching computer science stuff, and so like how to program, this helped me out with learning how to program and like fine-tuning it so that way I can get better at it, learning different languages and all that fun stuff. So whenever I was teaching drumlines, one of the things that I focused on was like the sequence of the warm-ups to not only get the hands moving, but also to account for the brains. So yeah, you might have a really cool and fun exercise to play, but if like people aren't awake enough for it or just like alert enough for it, then it's gonna sound bad. So if you start with something less complex and then move to the more complicated stuff over time, that can certainly help out with like the warm-ups and just to kind of get the blood flowing and get the brain moving and whatnot. Pick one thing, focus on that one thing, either for like a practice session or even for as small as a single rep. Just focus on that. If you give yourself like, here's 10 things I'm all gonna improve on this one playthrough, no, that's not gonna go good for you. Just focus on one thing, give yourself plenty of time to work on it, and then over time, it'll get better. Again, over time with consistent effort. If you just like, oh, if I try it once, it didn't go good. Okay, we'll try it 1,000 times. Just focusing on that one thing. And then maybe it'll get a little bit better, 1%, and that's okay. Over time, it adds up. I'd recommend taking a look at alternating up upstroke sticking. With all these play-alongs, you can jump to a specific BPM. Same accent pattern as a normal grid variation, whether it's triplet or 16th note, but you do them all with the upstroke sticking. However, there are many other sticking variations in here, as well as in the 16th notes that would help you out with upstroke sticking and whatnot. Like if you do the paradiddle versions, then you'll work on upstrokes. Can I recommend drumsticks for the study of snare drum? Concert percussion snare drum? I personally prefer the bolero tip sticks, and the reason why is because it gives you this nice, really tiny bead for the head, and it makes it so that when you are playing on the drum that you can have really nice controlled articulate low dynamics, and because I have like the rudimental chops and whatnot, like I'm able to get the power that I would out of even the thinner bolero bead, as if I was like playing with some heavier sticks. There are some other sticks that I have tried before. There's this like No Thung, I think was the name of it. But for concert percussion stuff, yeah, the bolero tips are the way to go. If you have the chops, like rudimental chops and whatnot, then you can get all the power and sound you need out of it with the little sticks. This float drag variation is with chut cheeses. The play along can go as slow as 40 beats a minute to as fast as 200, and it goes up one click at a time. You can find this variation and others at the link on the screen, as well as hundreds more in my YouTube playlists. And we'd run backwards around the track, so that way it would kind of like work on our calves. The only time you're not standing on your platform and on your calves is if you're going like straight forward. Otherwise, you're using all those muscles, so we'd run backward. We could specifically work on that muscles a little bit more. And then we would do a full body stretch after that, just to kind of help loosen things up and not pull muscles. And then when we'd start drumming, we would play for a little bit and then stretch and massage our arms. Very, very helpful to do this. So grid is one of those exercises where it's just great for working on a rudiment because it does every permutation of an accent on that rudiment. So if you notice, very first line we have the accent on 1, and then on 2, and then on 3, and then you, instead of doing it for 4 counts, you do it for 2 counts, and then you do it for 1 count. So it makes it so that when you have the rudiment on one position, you are moving the accent around it, and it makes it so you can play it with any combination or any permutation. Highly recommend working on grid, and there's over 600 grid variations on my website for free play-alongs, from 20 if you're on the 16th note, or 40 beats a minute if you're on triplet, all the way up to 200 beats a minute. So you can play along to this however fast you want, or however slow you want.